Well, hello. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's me, your old pal, HalfBreed Billy Graham, the notorious leader of cult fiction. You know, it's been a long time since anybody's heard me speak publicly, and wow, I'm looking at something really beautiful off camera, but we'll just keep that rolling because you know how things are around Billy Graham. There's always some excitement going on. I'm blessed with a lovely camera operator today, but anyway, have not heard me speak for a while publicly, and today I break that public silence and put something out for all of you to hear and see, because not of professional wrestling, you're not going to hear me yelling and screaming. Today I decided to speak up and come out of my self-imposed exile to speak about a cause that is very near and dear to my heart. And I'm standing here in Los Angeles, California at the beautiful Hollywood Forever Cemetery. Many of the legends of the film business, Cecil B. DeMille, John Huston, Fay Wray, all buried here, Charlie Chaplin, Iron Eyes Cody, and here at the grave of the legendary, one of my idols and heroes, Johnny Ramone. The reason I came here to talk to you today is, you know, those of you who follow my career know that I have a really big connection to what I consider not just the greatest horror film of all time, but the greatest independent film in the history of the American cinema, Night of the Living Dead. And my connection, Night of the Living Dead people have been people that taught me that in this business, you know, at a blue-collar level, there's no such thing as fans. The people that consume the art and the product are your friends. And the Night of the Living Dead people are living examples of that. And I know because they took me in. They adopted me as part of their family. And I mean, hey, you know, so, you know, the connection that I have with them, with the film, has been a wonderful experience. For those of you who don't know, I'm the writer of One for the Fire, the legacy of Night of the Living Dead, the documentary that celebrated the 40th anniversary of Night of the Living Dead. And that's just part of my connection tonight. So the reason I came here to speak to you today is, for those of you who are fans of the film, you know that the opening segments were filmed in Evans City, Pennsylvania, in the Evans City Cemetery. And you'll see in those opening shots with Russ, Streiner, and Judith O'Day as Johnny and Barbara coming into the cemetery, you'll see a chapel there in the background that's become a very iconic image to film fans all over the world. And what's happened is the chapel has fallen into a state of disrepair to where the town of Evans City was actually considering tearing it down, until one Gary Streiner, brother of Russ Streiner, sound engineer on Night of the Living Dead, got together with a bunch of people and decided to start a campaign to actually get the funds up to restore and save the Evans City Chapel. And I think it's an important piece of film history, an important piece certainly of Pennsylvania history, and a piece of Americana. And there's fans all over the world, it goes beyond language, that recognize that structure. So they're asking for your help, and that's the reason I'm here today. I'm asking first, all you loyal members of Cult Fiction, you know, do this for the leader. I never order you to do anything. I don't want to have to order Brain Damage, Masada, any of these guys to come and shake you upside down and shake anything out of your wallet. You can find a Facebook page. You can find it on my Facebook page, links to it. Google it, search it online. Save the Evans City Cemetery Chapel. Contact Gary, his wonderful people, Kyra, Schon, I know, has been helping a lot. Laura Parker, all kinds of people that have a familial relationship to the film, and they're doing really good. And even if you have skills, if you're a roofer, a bricklayer, a mason, anything like that, please contribute. Please save this important part of not only horror film history, but American film history and Americana. Thanks, and just remember one thing: Night of Living Dead isn't for life, it's to the death.
I got like 5 or 7 phone messages from him, text messages. I don't know what he's up to. He's like turned into some
Russ, it's Billy, man. I've been looking for you. I've been calling you all over the place, man, trying to get. I want to do this Save the Chapel video. I'm not trying to be a bug or anything.
Yeah,
you know how much it means to me, the movie. I mean, it's Night of the Living Dead. You know, I love it. I love you. You were Johnny. It's my favorite movie. I mean, I just want to.
Billy, they're coming to get you.
Where? I don't see anything. Hey, Russ, wait a minute, Russ! Kyra! The door was unlocked, that's why. I just figured, I mean, we're friends. So I didn't think you'd mind if I came in. Well, I've called you like 57 times in 2 days and you haven't answered, and you know how important it is for me to get this Save the Evans City Chapel video done. I just figured, you know, if you weren't, I didn't want to come by unannounced. It's not like we're not friends. I mean, look, I've supported everything. I've got the t-shirt, I've got the dog tag. I mean, all I want is a little video, Kyra. Seriously, it's not a big deal, man. Hey, wait a minute. What are you doing? No, no, hey, Kyra, no! Good boy. Good boy. Need to save the chapel. Show everybody your pretty face. Wah, 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 wah. Wah, wah. She really... Hi, Rusty.
They're coming to get you, Barbara. They're coming for you. Look, there's one of them now.
You like that? So hard to find, I swear. Now I know this is Regis' house. I've been here before. It was a while back. Reg! Reg, it's your buddy, Billy Graham. The one for the fire guy. I've been trying to call you. No one's answering the phone. I hate to bug you without letting you know I'm coming. I just want to get an interview with you.
Oh, what the hell do you want?
I just want to do an interview with you, Regis, about the one saving the chapel. I'm sorry, I'm confused. I'm so tired. You know, remember me from One for the Fire?
No.
I just wanted to talk to you about saving the Evans City Chapel. I was hoping maybe you could do an interview with me or something along that lines. I hate to bug you.
Not a chance in hell of doing an interview.
It'll only take a couple minutes.
I don't have the time.
I'm kind of hungry too. I've been walking for a really long time to get to your house.
Yeah.
I just thought that, you know, the night was important to you. It's important to me. I mean, the fans, like, to save the chapel and the cemetery, please, couldn't you just give me an interview? I thought, I mean, I don't mean to bug, and I know it's kind of weird to just show up. Oh, that would be great. You think, I had to walk all the way from down, like, Fort Pitt Boulevard. I don't know why the cab driver kicked me out.
Okay, we'll give you a little time.
Okay, great, Reach. Thanks. I knew you'd help me out. I appreciate it, buddy. I'm sorry. I don't have any weapons or anything like that. Okay. Good to see you, Reach. Thanks. Thanks. I really appreciate it. Well, Reg, thank you so much for your hospitality. Every time I get to sit, everybody, look, if you're a Night of the Living Dead fan, okay, unless you have been saying you're a fan, but your head is up your ass or under a rock, then this man would need no introduction to you. For those of you who are just learning about Night of the Living Dead, I'm gonna give you the introduction that this man deserves. One of my favorite people personally involved with the making of the Night of the Living Dead. This is Regis Survinski. Regis, first of all, was the brother, and is the brother of Vince Survinski, who was such a key person to the Latent Image and to Image 10. Any person that was involved in Night of the Living Dead or any of George's early films will tell you that if it wasn't for Vince Survinski, those movies wouldn't have got made, because he was the man that showed them all how to work. He was the man that had a business sense, and really just was a guy that was a go-to guy and did anything that needed to be done. He didn't look and say, hey, who's going to do this? Your brother did it, correct?
He did. There was one thing that he did. He took care of the toilets out there, so nobody else would do it, and he had to do it for them.
So there was running water because of Vince, so that people were able to take a crap, man. Otherwise, they had to go into town to the diner or something, right?
Yeah.
So now let me talk about Regis himself. For all of you who don't know it, and for a lot of you film fans and indie film fans, you know that cars always go by when you don't have big money to shut down the city. For all of you who do not know, Reg was the person who was responsible for all the fire effects, the explosions, especially the gunshots, especially the squibs that at that time, you know, when you see a zombie being shot or a person being shot, looks so realistic in Night of the Living Dead, and I dare say far surpassed the Hollywood standards of the time. And all that was created, unless I'm mistaken, right here in your backyard.
Right here, under the porch, where I tested this stuff.
Awesome. And then, of course, the thing that, some Molotov cocktails there going out the window with Carl Hardman there, right? In glass jars, you know, lighting some things on fire.
Oh, jeez.
But the thing that everybody remembers, as far as fire and effects like that go in the film, is, of course, poor Tom and Judy. When that gasoline spills in that old 1950, I believe it was, pickup truck, and the ensuing explosion, well, you're looking at the man that was responsible for that explosion, and I dare say it's still one of my favorite vehicle explosions before it was a standard. So I've had the pleasure many times before to sit and talk with Reg on camera, for the fire, and of course off camera as a friend. And Monday I bored him to sleep showing him. He was Reg is a wrestling fan like me. He comes from the day of watching Bruno Sammartino, Johnny Valentine beat the hell out of each other here, bloody mess here in Pittsburgh in the Civic Arena, and so he watched some Combat Zone Wrestling DVDs on Monday with me, Tournament of Death, Cage of Death, me getting beat up. Okay, so as you know, the chapel, the Evans City Chapel in the cemetery there, that is so prominent at the opening scene with Russ, Streiner, and Judith O'Day coming in there, has fallen into a state of disrepair. And Gary Streiner spearheaded a movement to help raise the money to keep Evans City from demolishing the chapel.
Well, I hope it works out for them, because it's an integral part of, really, the Night of the Living Dead.
Absolutely. as we know the farmhouse was demolished soon after the making of the film.
Yes.
And the basement is in the Fort Pitt building, which is a couple $1 million of real estate that I don't think anybody's going to snag up anytime soon. So that structure is actually the last building that we see from the film,
Exactly.
And so the fans, you've gotten recently, not long ago, you got to go out to some of the shows and meet some of the fans. What was that like for you when you got to meet these people coming up obsessed with Night of the Living Dead?
When I went out to the hotel out there, seeing all those people with the horror films, their thrill of just the horror scare. It was fantastic. The people I met out there were really great fans.
Great. And so when you guys were making Night of the Living Dead in 1967, you never imagined that in 2012 you'd be sitting here with some kook like me, right? That was just so in love with the movie, right? I mean, it was just business then, right?
Yeah, it was, yes. I enjoy doing this here, especially for the chapel out there. The friends come to see the chapel. They come from all over the world just to see.
Every country you can imagine speaking other languages, and that must be really flattering that your life's work is something that's going to be remembered for generations to come.
Well, some of that there stuff, fan that I have, wrote from Italy, doing a book, wants to do and stuff from.
And you're doing an interview for that book, right? And you also worked on a couple of George's other films, right?
Yeah, there's 7 different flicks that I've worked on. There's always Vanilla, Jack's Wife, The Crazies, The Effects.
Martin too?
Yeah, the Martin film, yes.
And you also appeared in Martin and the Crazies, correct?
Yes, I did.
Are you not, unless I'm mistaken, are you not the first crazy? Are you not the man lighting his house on fire?
Exactly. I set the house on fire and I go bananas in there.
So you were an actor in front of the camera lighting the house on fire, and you were actually behind the camera actually lighting the house on fire, right? I mean, you were acting as the person lighting the building, and you really were lighting the building behind the camera.
Yeah.
I think that's a cinematic rarity that someone is doing both roles, as the arsonist and the man actually feigning the arson, or simulating the arson as well as possible. So the fans have just been a treat, and for the most part a real surprise, right?
Oh, I'll tell you the surprise on some of them, of what I've done. What I was capable of doing, and what George loved so much. Those first shots, they worked first time every time.
Every time.
They didn't do that in California, Hollywood, New York.
That's right. In other words, Regis Survinski was here in Pittsburgh teaching the Hollywood guys a trick or two about how it was done right. That's the bottom line.
That's exactly it.
Because he didn't have a 5 to 10 ratio. He was 100% with every explosion, every fire. And I'll tell you what, still hand rolls the greatest fire. I keep one of Regis firecrackers that he was so blessed me as a gift that he hand rolled in it. I have that in a plexiglass case on my shelf with all my precious Night of the Living Dead memorabilia. And so I would like to say, Reg, that I don't know what you know about what's going on right now with the fundraising, but right now they've raised $38,000.
Oh, great! Oh man, I hope it's enough to get the work started.
Well, Gary Streiner has said to me within the last couple of days that they believe the work's going to be started by the beginning of the summer here, and possibly done by the fall if these fans and all these wonderful people keep opening up their purse strings and opening up their wallets, which I guess is why I got Reach here with you to just say, you know, like everybody appreciates the generosity, but we need to keep it. We need to keep it coming so we can get the job done.
Yeah.
And I want to say that Reg, once they get that work done, and they're ready to cut the ribbon on the opening,
I would like to be on.
I would say that you better be there with me, okay? Because if you're not there with me, it's not going to be the same thing. Because Reg, in addition to being explosive, expert, extraordinaire, and a pleasure to talk to all the time, he is the life of the party. I mean, if Reg is not at the party, there is no party. So if I find out Reg is not going to make the scene, man, I'm sorry. I'm going to tell everybody in advance. I'm going to be a little bit too busy because I'm going to find out where Reg is at, and I'm going to go there and party with him instead. Okay, so Reg, thank you so much for giving me the time, and I hope that I can still have that sandwich and get a ride back into Pittsburgh.
Oh, man, you're quite welcome.
I love you,
I'm
Reg.
sure I do.
I love you. Thank you so much. Everybody, keep giving to save the chapel. Read Survinski, everybody.
Okay.
Hey, but I don't know what you thought about that group, but I think that band member was hot.
I think they suck.
I think
They're horrible.
No,
it's terrible. No, they're terrible.
Oh, guys, I'm not trying to. Big man, no trouble, man.
No
Listen,
problem.
I'm from out of town. You guys might be able to help me, man. I've been running all over Pittsburgh. Like a friend of mine, man. You guys might know him. He hangs in here all the time. I've been here drinking with him before. His name's John Russo, the guy that wrote Night of the Living Dead. You got to know who he is. I'm looking all over town for him, and nobody tells me anything.
He doesn't know.
I don't know what.
You gotta tell him.
He didn't just write the Night of the Living Dead.
What do you mean?
He is the living.
What do you mean he's the living dead? Oh no! Why you guys from Pittsburgh? You're running around to stop a zombie? Zum 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 zombie doobie zum 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 zombie doobie zum 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 zombie doobie wah 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 wah. Our guest stars, come in here. Introduce yourself. Say hi.
Hi, I'm Joy.
Everybody here
Not
to
Dave.
save the Evans City Chapel, having
There it
fun.
is.
Okay.
Evans City Chapel.
And see how the people of Pittsburgh always step up when you hear the living dead, man. It's a part of the city, people. It's a part of the culture. It's a part of American cinema history, world cinema history. Everybody supports saving the Evans City Chapel, right?
Yes.
Right.
Rock on.
Wow. What an impromptu, crazy, spontaneous week I had. My friend John Russo, as you know, my friend Jack, as I like to call him, are all the people here.
Save the chapel.
Right. John Russo, all you Night of the Living Dead fans who are real fans obviously know that John Russo is the author, writer, creator of Night of the Living Dead, creator of The Modern Zombie, standing here with me. Jack, you and me have been friends for a while, got to work together on lots of things, one for the fire and other things, and even including grabbing some of your local friends and getting them in on some of the fun.
They were just so happy to be in the thing.
They were thrilled.
great.
And the people step up, you know, in Pittsburgh, and they have stepped up big time when it comes to saving the Evans City Chapel, and thus the fun that unfolded in the filming of this Kill Billy Save the Chapel video that was impromptu. And something, of course, I learned from everybody from the Latent Image and Image 10 was, I remember you saying it, I remember several others saying it, Russ included, why talk about doing something? Let's do something. And I think that's a central theme of how we did this little film that you're all getting to see and enjoy right now, and also how Gary Streiner and the rest came up with the idea of working to save the Evans City Chapel, something seen in the beginning of Night of the Living Dead. Now, Jack, let me, like, one thing about that, like, how did you guys decide to use the Evans City Cemetery to shoot the film in?
Well, actually, it was only because once we had the farmhouse, which was the key factor, you know, without the farmhouse that we could destroy, drive nails into everything and bust it apart. Without that, we couldn't have made the movie. So that was the critical thing. And once we found that house in Evans City, then of course you want to find a cemetery close by, and you know, just logistically, so you don't want to have to drive 100 miles to get to a cemetery, because then you're using production time and it's going to drive the cost up.
So, only because, was it Vince Survinski that found the house?
No, it was actually, we had an intern at the time, Jack Ligo, who does play a zombie in the movie. And he knew about the house, and he really bailed us out because we couldn't find one. Every house we looked at was either the ceilings were too low or it was too run down and it didn't look believable that somebody had lived there. It would have cost a fortune to fix it up and all that. And then this house was, it was a church camp.
You mentioned this man Jack Ligo because what a unplanned, unforeseeable circumstance that this man just happens. So I think his name should be remembered by the night fans because if he wouldn't have found the house there, then you wouldn't have chose the convenience of the Evans City Cemetery and its proximity to the house to cut costs and travel time and lugging gear and everything like that. So once you guys got up into the cemetery, I mean, how was that determined? Like, let's have Johnny and Barbara pull up in front of the chapel.
Only because we knew that at one point, to get away from the cemetery zombie played by Bill Heinzman, she would have to release the emergency brake and set that car rolling. So it had to be on a grade, and there was the grade.
A beautiful grade, right? A slope that will send a car skyrocketing down the hill,
better
right?
grades than I got in college.
But and I never went to college. That's why I'm standing in front of a bar with John Russo in the middle of the night at Terrace Gardens. But anyway, hey, self-education.
So it was a great grade, and the car had to roll, and the chapel happened to be in the background, which we didn't know was a chapel even.
So you were saying the chapel itself, you, as far as you knew, it wasn't a chapel. You were saying it was.
I thought for 40 years that it was a tool shed because it was a tool shed. That's what it was being used for.
I do know they were storing lawnmowers and things like that.
Yeah, and then I guess they bought some new equipment that wouldn't fit in there anymore. So rather than they were going to demolish it until Harry Streiner decided that what a great thing it would be. It's an iconic structure in a classic horror film, and let's raise some money and bring it back to being a chapel. I said, well, Gary, I'll write you a script. You know, the chapel gets rebuilt and it's all beautiful again, and people start to get married in that chapel, and then there are evil spirits that possess them because they're married in the Night of the Living Dead in the chapel.
Wow, that's a
Chapel
really...
of the Living Dead.
Chapel of the Living Dead. I'm down. Can I be like the lead zombie in that? I'm going to make a pitch.
You can be
I'm
the lead zombie.
I'm Hollywood half-breed now, you know what I mean? So
Hollywood half-breed.
Yeah, so...
the Chapel of the Living Dead starring Hollywood half-breed Billy Graham.
That works, man, for me.
Now, if you move somewhere else, like suppose you go back to New York,
Then
will you then become New York Hollywood half-breed Billy Graham? We have to keep tacking
Brooklyn.
names on
I think
because
Brooklyn Billy would be
well,
kind
Brooklyn
of...
Billy, I think you should short it because otherwise your name will be so long in the credits.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, Graham. And I guess another thing, a thing that we've been touching on a lot, I know Kyra, Gary, a lot of us talked about this, and you, Jack, you are a veteran of the horror convention circuit. I mean, you certainly are a fixture, and I can attest to that because we've both been fixtures. Usually when all these kids are asleep, Jack and I are still at the bar singing "Zum Zum Zum Zum," and we're singing "Bum Bum 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 Bum."
Mr. Sandman,
Bring me a dream, make him the cutest that I've ever seen. But anyway, and Eleanor Rigby, we really can't sing for you because our lyrics are so filthy that we would be, Howard Stern would be
actually, I
having a
don't
heart
even
attack.
consider them filthy because I'm very broad-minded.
They're blue.
These things.
They're blue lyrics.
Bluer than blue.
Enough to make the devil blush. But anyway, so what I was going to say, the thing we've been talking about a lot, and why I bring up the horror convention circuit, you know, a lot of people that are not horror genre fans, that don't know these conventions and things like that, kind of might get a stigma or a prejudice in their head. You know, you see, I mean, I'm a relatively normal looking guy at the horror convention compared to a lot of the people that you see, you know, the goths and people in costumes and lots of tattoos and piercings and things like that.
I guess I'm the freak. I become the freak.
Yeah, it's role reversal, but I mean, in other words, the fact that the stereotype is not true, and you can see this in the fact that, I mean, the fans and the supporters of Night of the Living Dead, the friends you've made over the years, you know they're more than fans. I mean, there's an affinity and a love for the film that's inexplicable, and that inexplicable admiration for the work that you guys did, the genre that you created single-handedly with Late Image and Image 10, and with The Living Dead coming to consume the recently dead coming to consume the flesh of the living. This is the original idea that now, of course, has been 68 zombie films coming out this year.
Yeah.
My friends aren't getting paid for that, which I think is one of the most
we
treason
don't
crimes.
need to be paid, because if somebody comes up with their own unique concept, just like anybody can make a vampire film,
Yeah, but you guys
just don't rip us off.
Well, but the bottom line is, the bottom line is the vampire rules were things that came from folklore, but you guys really did make the rules that they're sticking by, eating the living, destroying the brain, to stop them. I mean, you created those rules. So
I think I was built for that project. I was made for that because my brain was destroyed.
And Jack Daniels and Jim Beam and Johnny Walker and all these other cats helped do that. But
were they in the movie?
They might have been uncredited as zombifiers, I think. But what I was going to say is just that affinity and that affection and that respect for the things that you guys created. It certainly seems like it spilled over not to motorists, but just to us strictly here on the sidewalk. But no, what I was going to say is you've seen this over the years in every anniversary that comes up, every convention. People, fans, you never run out of people that you haven't met before that respect and love the film. And now we have this effort to save the chapel, and they've already at this point raised $38,000, which is no small chump change. And people have that much affinity for it, and I mean,
I tried to get a low interest loan for that money, but
nobody wanted to give it to you. Well, that's because we don't support your gambling habit, Jack. It's terrible, and you need to stop and quit now. But what I was going to say is how does that feel? To know that you didn't just make a movie that people like, but somehow the fans become friends and they feel personally connected to that point where they open up their checkbooks to help save something from the movie.
Well, the most gratifying thing is that we started something that's still going on, but we don't rest on our laurels. I mean, I'm all about what I'm doing now, what I'm going to do tomorrow. I don't think about Night of the Living Dead every day of my life, except when I'm dealing with the legal issues. And I mean, that's just the way it is. So, but I guess the thing that I'm happiest about being an ex-teacher, I'm still teaching in my movie-making program, but I like the idea that we've inspired so many filmmakers, noted filmmakers, unknown filmmakers,
aspiring
people
filmmakers
that have become famous, people like Quentin Tarantino and Kevin Smith and so on, and Sam Raimi, who learned from us and saw a way to start their careers and went on and did it.
Peter Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, you could name so many.
I mean, the spillover effect. I mean, Greg Nicotero comes up.
Thing.
Greg Nicotero comes from through Tom Savini,
yeah,
who was part of
George
Dawn of the
Romero.
Dead, and then that leads to Greg Nicotero with K&B now making the effects of 90% of the movies in the business. So the domino effect of what you guys started and how it spread, I guess, is what you're talking about.
And I applaud that. I have to say a couple words about Gary Streiner, because people don't realize that he doesn't get the attention that he deserves, because he was one of the basic and integral parts of the Latent Image. That was our company at the time. George Romero and Russ Streiner started the company. Gary started working there part-time while he was still in high school, and when I came in and became a full-time partner there, then Gary started at about the same time I did, full-time. And Gary is one of the best, maybe the best recording engineer and mixing engineer that I ever worked with. Gary did everything from memory, no mixing logs, nothing. He would invariably do a better job mixing film than people that had millions of dollars into their studio and so on and mixing logs and all the BS.
He undersells himself a lot with that.
Well, he's an artist. He's an artist with sound, a totally dedicated person, no matter what he gets involved with. And look, he had a big career in advertising, won awards all over the place, did some of the top TV commercials that have ever been done, including, working with Jerry Seinfeld and Frank Sinatra on American Express commercials and everything else. I mean, he's just done a ton of stuff, and he took it upon himself to save this chapel. That's the kind of person he is. Now,
and he's doing a damn good job of it, too.
Absolutely. It's become almost, it's taken over his life. And so please, people, hurry up and contribute to the chapel so Gary can get his life back.
Well, I think Gary should become, I've started this thing in our little Kill Billy Save the Chapel thing here, but I think Gary Streiner is definitely a good candidate for mayor of Evans City and turning it into the mecca of Night of Living Dead. I mean, let's have a blue and yellow sign from Pennsylvania that says this is a historic, we're 4.5 years away from the 50th anniversary.
Yeah. Well, it should have a plaque, a historical site plaque, an authorized plaque should be there. And the other thing is that this might not just be Save the Chapel. I don't know if the people in the town know it, but this could put Evans City on the map in a big way. Evans City ought to be the Roswell of Pennsylvania,
Right.
You're talking about fictional creatures largely. Some people think they're real aliens from outer space and all that. And Roswell was built on that legend. Well, we have a legend that's even in some ways bigger.
Bigger, yeah.
And it centers itself in Evans City.
There
should be an alien, there should be a zombie museum and
there's a lot
dedicated to all the movies and books and everything revolving around.
There's a lot more zombie movies made than alien movies these days.
It started in Evans City. And Bill Heinzman
maybe if we could plant some zombie sightings, it would.
I thought you were going to say zombie seeds.
Okay, well, speaking of Bill Heinzman is a great way to lead into.
Well, Bill Heinzman was the first flesh-eating ghoul ever, and did a marvelous job in setting that movie, setting up the first scene that just utterly hooked people, and so he'll never be forgotten for that. But beyond that, he was a cinematographer, a filmmaker, a producer, and so on and so on. Had a long career. And
you guys worked together an awful lot.
Many times. And he directed The Majorettes, which I wrote and produced. And his daughter Heidi was in that movie. She was in a movie I made, a gangster movie with Chuck Corby, world-famous soul singer. But Bill was a cinematographer. Heidi played a lead role in that. George Heinzman took care of our weapons and all that. He was our firearms expert on that movie. Bonnie was craft service on that. Bonnie in Majorettes, in the Majorettes, Bonnie was the choreographer. And these girls that came in, and none of them had ever danced before or even been Majorettes, and she had to choreograph that and make it believable. And I did my part because those girls were all frozen and scared. I went out and got 2 cases of beer and got them half drunk.
That was his part of the choreography.
I got them relaxed. They came up.
Hey, listen.
They showered me with hugs and kisses. Thank you, John.
A little confession of the corruption of the morals of minors compared to George Kosana.
Minors.
Listen, they weren't minors, of young ladies, but of age. You don't know this, but George Kosana, in the course of this production, confessed to shooting his grandmother. So I think you're in the clear, man. We're going to get that one cleared up before they come after you.
I think I knew his grandmother, and I was hoping he would shoot.
What I was going to say is I think it was really nice of you to talk about Bill right now, and I mean even mention Heidi, how proud he was of her and all of you guys, because look what she's doing now.
She's in the Directors Guild, getting a lot of work in Hollywood, and beautiful, intelligent person. Yeah, that's for sure.
And so we've got lots and lots of tidbits that we can edit in various ways throughout this production, and the bar has been slightly cooperative at this point and quiet, and we all need to end this production. So Jack, if there's anything, Mr. Russo, that you'd like to say in last bid to get anybody to open up their hearts, their purse strings, their wallets to save the Evans City Chapel. You will be I know this, when they have the ribbon cutting ceremony, you will be there with me, right, with some kind of spirit in hand and
spirits.
Yeah, something spirits,
Okay, yeah.
Something that,
I'll be there.
Okay, great. Awesome, Jack. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you.
And thank you very much.
You're doing a marvelous
for
effort with this.
Thanks.
Fans all over the world should thank Billy Graham for putting this together.
Or else bothering them instead of you. I mean,
Harass him instead of me.
I'll sign Jack Russo's name to any piece of paper, especially if it's got lots of zeros on it. I would be glad to forge the check. Jack, always a pleasure. Love you, man.
Yes,
Thanks.
thank you.
Russ!
Look, there comes one of them now.
Where? I don't see anything. Why do you keep telling me there's one coming? Oh, man, you always get me with that zombie Man, if I didn't know better, I'd swear he's trying to avoid me. Russ, wait a minute. Come on, man. Here I am with Gary Streiner, man, standing in the Evans City Cemetery, like a place where all the Night of the Living Dead fanatics like me just can't get enough. And like Gary, you know me, I've been, for years, you guys have been telling me and regaling me with all these stories and all this.
This is our first time at the chapel.
Yeah, together. Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Together.
And you know, it's just like there's so much that the fans want to absorb, and I always feel so privileged because I get so close and I get to experience all these things firsthand. To be here with Gary Streiner, man, Gary Streiner was such a part of Night of the Living Dead, and like I'm here with him in the Evans City Cemetery for the first time together. And Gary, you know how I just can't get enough of it, like this trivia from anything, from Bosco syrup to. I want to live this. I want to be part of Night of the Living Dead, man.
Something firsthand.
Like it would make me like part of it, like I'd be in the movie.
Like it was done in the movie.
Oh, that's the best. Anything. Do I get to shoot somebody or?
No. See that chair over there?
I can be a zombie.
No. See the chair? Remember the chair?
That rotten chair over there?
Yeah, the one that Ben pushed out in the ground, out of the front.
Yeah, I remember that part. It smells like gasoline, man.
Go
What do you
for
want
it.
What?
That's what I did.
Light the chair on fire?
Yeah.
And then I'll know what it was like to be you.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, this is the best thing that ever happened to me, man. I can't wait. Man, this is the greatest day of my life. Oh my God. I just had an epiphany. Now I know the real reason why they cast Dwayne Jones in that part. Sure, send a black man to light the chair on fire. And then Gary, because he's a young guy, yeah. Look, man, I know you're impressed over this, Gary, but I don't really think this is too cool of you. So, sorry we didn't go. We're a little at a distance from Gary and I right now because we wanted you to see the chapel a little bit in the background. So, Gary, I mean, we're how far into this effort to save the Evans City Chapel? How's things going with it? And
it's going fantastic. We just had a $3,400 weekend last week.
Cinema Wasteland.
Cinema Wasteland.
I saw the table was busy as heck over there.
Yeah,
like
just
crazy.
People are just opening up like unbelievable.
So sorry, we have a sheriff choking on Seagan's ginger ale over here. Now he's going to be dead and all messed up and bloated from bicarbonate soda. But anyway, what's been like part of the? Has anything surprised you about the turnout for people that save this iconic structure?
Well, surprised. I'm surprised how big it got in a rapid fashion. You know, I expected always I wouldn't have started this whole fundraiser if I didn't think that we would get the money. You know, I mean that pretty much to me was a slam dunk. But we've only been really collecting money for 4 months. We've only been collecting money for maybe 4 months. You know, and here we are. We're at where I don't have all the books and balances done yet, and there's bills to be paid, this, that, and the other thing, but we're somewhere in the neighborhood of $32,000.
$32,000.
And that's by selling $20 T-shirt and $10 poster prints.
Caskets made out of parts of this building.
Yeah.
How about what's the reaction been from the town of Evans City itself? I mean,
they're slowly starting to understand something's going on here.
So, you know? is there any chance that this might snowball into Gary Streiner for mayor? Because I'm all for it, because I think we could really turn this place into a park.
There's always that possibility. But first of all, I'm one of the things I'm most excited about is I'm going to go online and get ordained and do marriages in
Here?
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Wow, man, that's pretty cool. And I heard Cuss
I've
Cuss
had,
has been trying to like avoid that bullet for so long. So ladies, listen. I know you watch the movie all the time, and I know you know, before there was Clint Eastwood, before there was Chuck Norris, Charlie Bronson, there was Sheriff McClellan. So somebody out there, come on and make an honest man out of this debaucherous, gambling, womanizing, zombie shooting madman. He needs a good woman to turn him into a nice, settled down man so we can have lots of little sheriffs running around Evans City. You know what I mean?
I don't think I'm going to shoot at the ground.
Okay, next time with Cuss and me, the gun's going to be loaded. Hey, that's okay, because I just sent a bullet out there for you that you're going to be ducking for about the next 6 months probably. You're going to be getting all kinds of candy
I already
grams.
got messages, will I make a good husband?
There you
Hey,
go. How are you? They're asking you if you'd make a good
I mean-
husband.
No, they're asking other women.
Oh,
if I could
okay.
get used to another man's facial hair tickling me, I might go for it.
No, you wouldn't.
but-
No, you wouldn't. That I can guarantee.
So, where are we at? And what's next for Save the Chapel?
Well, I mean, basically, the biggest thing left to do as a fundraiser is, the great thing is that through this whole process, the Cemetery Association has decided to use the chapel for memorial services again.
Awesome.
Which is something it hadn't been done really
Since-
ever. Because of this hillside here, because of the roadway, can you imagine pulling out a casket from a hearse or having one come in on you? So it never got used. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect the road to this.
Oh, so where you can
with a
load right up
memorial-
and-
with a
and
memorial
come right
walk.
in,
So the
man.
hearse will be able to back right in here over the memorial bricks. And the other circumstance is that the tents used to cost $75. Now they're up to $300 and $400.
Right. So instead, you've got a permanent structure, and you don't have to go through all that.
That makes me happier than anything.
I think another thing that should be said about all this is, a lot of times horror movie fans, some of them like to dress goth, some of them have long hair and tattoos and all these other things like that. But, I mean, doesn't this really show that the horror fans are not really all that weird when it's not only a dedication to the film that people are reaching in their pockets for, but a part of Pennsylvania history, film history, and it directly is going to benefit Evans City. You know?
Yeah, and when you asked about how the town is reacting to it, that's what I'm saying. I think they're slowly starting to embrace the fact that Night of the Living Dead is part of their culture, it's part of their history. I think they're a little embarrassed by that, not in the fact that they're embarrassed by Night of the Living Dead, but as a lot of people are, they're embarrassed that someone would make special note, of them because of Night of the Living Dead. So that is starting to change. They're starting to say, wow, well, it's actually a badge of honor, to be from the town where Night of the Living Dead was made.
And the crazies.
And I've made major inroads with the head of town council here, and with any kind of luck, we're going to have signs at either end of the town that say, "Welcome to Evans City, home of
Night of the Living Dead." Right. And so one other question. So with where you're at with the money, when do you see work beginning?
Early summer.
Early summer. You guys heard it right here. So I hope I'd like to come back here with the cameras again and keep documenting the process. If Cuss doesn't put one right between my eyes before then, So Gary, man, thanks a lot, brother. Always good to see you.
Absolutely.
Love you. And all you Night of the Living Dead
Chapel
fans, Save the Chapel group, great job, man. Love you all. Man, if I didn't know better, I'd swear Gary wasn't acting like a friend. Russ! It's me again.
Yeah, Billy. Hi.
I hate to bug you. I never like to be intrusive because I would never do anything like that.
I know.
I just really want to do this Save the Evans City Chapel video. I got a great idea for this. I think the fans are going to really like it.
I know
you know how much I'd like to be
You're full of great ideas. I know. listen, I'm trying to tell you as nicely as I can. This stalking thing's getting a little heavy.
Stalking?
Well, you know, you're showing
I'm just trying to make a movie. You know what it's like to want to make a movie, Russ?
Yeah, right, I do. Yeah, I do. And I have a lot of sympathy for you, I really do.
Night of the Living Dead means so much to me, I can't get enough of it. I'm probably one of the biggest fans in the world. I just want to know what it's like to be part of Night of the Living Dead, walk in your shoes. I want to know what it was like to be Johnny. I want to...
Get your eyes off my shoes.
So you won't do it, or?
Yeah, I'll do it.
I'll buy you drinks at the bar down here if you sit down and talk with me. Anything you want.
Yeah.
But you got to leave first because I'm going to skip out the back. Oh man, thanks, Russ. I really appreciate it.
All right, we'll have a couple.
You're
of
all
drinks.
right, man.
All right. Okay.
And
So it's good to see you, man.
it's good to see you, Russ. The sign of true perfection in industry is the imbibing of spirits and alcohol.
Drink first, ask questions.
Hollywood HalfBreed Billy Graham sitting here in lovely Pittsburgh with, look, all the Night of the Living Dead people hate when you do this to them, when you give them adjectives and adverbs and accolades as you introduce them because they're all such humble, blue-collar Pittsburgh people. They just set out to make the cool monster movie. But I will say it, sitting here with the legend and icon to Night of the Living Dead fanatics like yours truly, Russ Streiner. Johnny, hello, Russ, how are you doing this afternoon?
Good to see you.
Good to see you. A lot of you have been paying attention online, on Facebook, on YouTube and things about the efforts to save the Evans City Cemetery Chapel. Russ's brother Gary, of course, has been like the spearhead of that movement and everything. And all you people have done such a great job. And Kyra is sitting here, and so is Laura Parker, but we're not going to spin the camera around because they won't let us. Let me ask you something, because a lot of things aren't getting really talked about as far as some trivia with it and everything. So how did you come to the idea of actually choosing Evans City as the cemetery where you film this stuff?
Well, it all centered around the house. We were able to make a deal for the entire summer, as long as we wanted, summer and fall of 1967. Once we found the farmhouse, which was the real trick, because we knew the house was going to take a beating. And when I made the deal with Mr. Gass, who owned that property, owned the house, I said, look, we'll fix anything that we can. He said, don't worry about it, because when you're finished filming, we're going to raise that house anyway. We're going to knock it down and make a turf farm.
Wow.
So it was fortuitous in that we could do whatever we wanted to the house, didn't have to worry about repairing it and so forth.
Or Bosco on the walls.
Or any of the other things that we did to the house. And so once we secured the house, then we said, well, it would behoove us, for economy's sake, where can we get the other locations that we need? There was a little bit of a snafu in the house in that the basement was so shallow, it was really an exaggerated crawl space. So what we did was we said the basement's unusable, so we filmed all of the basement sequences where Kyra and Carl and Marilyn were. That was in our building, our office building in downtown Pittsburgh. Other than the sequence in Washington, D.C., everything was filmed in the Evans City community, including the cemetery.
So we're talking a little bit about the chapel. How did it, was that a conscious choice to include the chapel? Everybody knows the chapel so much from when you and Judith first pull up in the car. Was it just, let's set the camera up here and shoot it, or did you really want that building in the background?
Well, we figured it looked like a cemetery. To be honest with you, we had no idea at the time that it was a chapel. I didn't realize it was a chapel until my brother Gary got involved with it just recently. But the proximity of the road where we had to park the car. We understand that we had to work out the logistics. The car, I'll remind you, had to be parked on a bit of a grade, so when the handbrake was released,
Could roll downhill, right?
so that was one of the big determining factors as to where Johnny and Barbara parked the car when they first got there, and coincidentally the chapel was in the background.
So in talking about the house and what you just said about that it's going to be raised at the end of it and everything, I mean, can you imagine, you could have never imagined, of course, the success of Night of the Living Dead, fanatics like me and 10 million other people that follow you guys around and asking you the same questions over and over again. That house, if it would still be standing there today, no doubt would be part of like Latent Image Enterprises or Russ Streiner's private gold mine. Or
One of the biggest blunders ever
was not buying.
But we didn't buy the house, and we rented it for that summer. Had any of us known, of course, we would have.
Because it was affordable. I mean, obviously too. I mean, what they
Right. Well, they were going to grow grass there. And growing grass was more valuable than the house.
than the house itself, right? Well, growing grass is really valuable, but that's. Well, I guess one of the things that a lot of the people that have, got on board, let's say, with trying to save the chapel and everything, is with the house being gone and with the basement actually being the basement of the Fort Pitt building, which is a commercial property which you guys do not hold.
Right.
And who knows what will happen with that as years goes by. I guess go by. I guess a lot of the fans have really latched on to the idea that the chapel is really the only structure or visibly remaining from the film. And I think that's one of the reasons why they've been really trying to get behind it.
And I think, I think it's worthwhile. Let's face it, it's the fans who have made that film successful. And if fans want to rally around saving and fixing the chapel, I think it's a completely admirable cause. It is an iconic building and an iconic film, and hopefully people will respect what's being done with the Save the Chapel thing, and they'll respect the cemetery itself. It is a working cemetery.
Absolutely. And I guess, as you said, part of the iconic film, but even you not realizing that it had been a chapel long before you guys got there in a working cemetery. So I'm sure if people dug a little deeper, there's a history of the chapel with the people that have been the residents of Evans City, you know what I mean? So, and then to preserve it, not just, on the account of Night of the Living Dead, but on the account of it being part of the history of Evans City, but certainly, I think you can't underestimate it being, for future generations, an iconic image from a film that's known all over the world and changed the business. So,
well, one of the things that happens is that we know for sure, universally, that things do change. The cemetery itself, for example, in the confined area where we filmed my dialogue scene with Judith O'Day, and we get accosted by Bill Heinzman, by the cemetery's zombie. Right next to the tombstone that we were apparently allegedly visiting, was a wonderful tall tree which was taken out probably about 10 or 15 years ago now, with a tornado coming through that path in that cemetery and took the tree down. So people who are now looking at the Evans City Cemetery, they say, well, no, this can't be right because there was a big tree. Yes, there was a big tree that is no longer
broken right out of it. So I guess another thing to say, a lot of people, obviously you're going up there. An interesting thing has been that most of the people that work at the cemetery in the town say that the fans are pretty respectful in going up there. I mean, I would just urge anybody that's a fan of the movie to continue that tradition. I do remember one time in 2003 going in there and someone had spray painted Monster A Go-Go on a tree there, and I know I felt pretty upset because it reflects on everybody, you know, that, oh, these monster people. And so in recent interviews with the caretaker of the cemetery, which I was, you know, he was the same man when we did One for the Fire in 2007, same guy now, 2012, still riding the lawnmower up there and everything, and he seems to have gotten just a great rapport with the fans and everything. So just be respectful when you go up there to visit, and that's, we're in someone's business. Please, come by. The lovely
30 plates.
unnamed wait staff that has been so accommodating. And she's working this hard to donate all of her tips to saving the Evans City Chapel. That's the amazing thing. We've indentured servants all over the city of Pittsburgh working toward this cause. I guess that's about all I wanted to ask you about, was just the idea of, you know, how did the chapel end up being in the film, and I never heard that story before, and I guess to urge everyone to get on board.
Yeah, it is certainly something that a lot of people are passionate about. Hopefully you'll be a little bit passionate about it. Send in a couple of bucks to fix the chapel.
Because the other way we could do it, I'm not going to make it, you know, it's not this trying to get a monkey to do tricks at the convention table and then not buy a photograph, hint some people, but I'm not going to make him do the line, but I'm just saying, like, either you do what's right if you benefited from this film and you cough up something, or
Otherwise,
they're coming to get your wallet some way, one shape or another, and if it's not through your wallet, then it's through your conscience. Save a part of Pennsylvania film history, save a part of Pittsburgh
by all
film history.
means.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Russ. Awesome.